What is good and what is up, y'all? It's your boy here, Jay, back and better than ever with another episode of Thunder Banter. The Thunder are on a roll, but have their 12-game win streak snapped as they lose to the Celtics in the Garden tonight. We'll get all right into it with only 9 games left in the regular season. Playoffs are around the corner, right here on Thunder Banter. After what seemed to be an endless win streak and finally getting Dub back and healthy, the Thunder have their win streak snapped at 12 games, losing tonight to the Celtics in TD Garden, 119 to 109 in their last game of their 5-game road trip. But now, turning the page and having a 5-game homestand, looking to get back on that winning track. But all is good because we got Dub back and healthy, and we're having these winning streaks at the right time, right at the end of the season, right before the playoffs start. Only 9 games left, guys, but let's get right into it right on this episode of Thunder Banter. The Celtics snapped the Thunder's 12-game win streak at the Garden, 119 to 109, and now there is only 9 games left in the regular season as the NBA playoffs start here in April, with the play-in April 14th and the playoffs starting on April 18th. But let's get into how exactly we got to this moment of obviously having our win streak snapped. But there's more things to worry about, guys, like the San Antonio Spurs, for crying out loud, right? You know, it sucks that we have our win streak snapped, but at the end of the day, having this win streak at the end of the year is perfect, honestly. You want to have these types of streaks. You want to have this type of momentum. You want to have this type of chemistry. But really wasn't, we'll get into it, but really wasn't into the chemistry as much in this Celtics game. But let's get into the wins before the losses as the Thunder go ahead and take out the Nets in Brooklyn in a rebuilding Nets squad, 121 to 92, as Shea extended his 20-point streak. But Jared McCann led all Thunder scoring with 26 points off the bench, going 9 of 16 from the field, accompanied with 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Chet, AJ, and Aaron Wiggins all had double figures as well for the starters, and Isaiah Joe had 17 off the bench as well, as OKC shot 53% from the field and 40% from 3, out-rebounding the Nets and forcing 23 turnovers. Did the job as the Nets only had one starter, let me pronounce his name correctly, Troyer, and 2 players off the bench in double figures between Chaney Johnson and Ochai Abaji. OKC would dominate, and even though outscored by 7 points in the fourth quarter, it didn't matter as Thunder got the dub by 29 points. Now on to Washington, as the Thunder would then head to Washington, D.C. to face off against the Trae Youngless Wizards and take them out as well, 132 to 111, as the Wizards hung around for just a bit, but then the Thunder would put on the pedal to the metal as Shea led all scorers, dropping 43 and 7 off 7 of 27 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, only 2 threes attempted for Shea, leading the way with another MVP performance as Chet and AJ were also in double figures as starters with 18 and 14. McCann again led all scorers off the bench with 18 points, 4 of 10 from 3 with 3 rebounds and an assist. Continues to show his value and what a great move it was by Presti to get him before the deadline. I think his role now is perfect and elevates any pressure that you put on him for trying too hard to impress with the new team. I also think that the chemistry between the team helps Jared McCann. Do not move him from his rotational position, and also extend him, Presti. I think I've personally seen enough, and he's only been coming off the bench for the most part. He's done a fantastic job. Completely, utterly a Thunder through and through, and just fits right into this culture. I think that if there is anybody that you want to extend or think about extending, right, it was probably some other guys beforehand, but now thinking about it, go ahead and extend Jared McCann because of what he has done and his ability to adapt. We understand he was a first-round pick. We understand his capabilities, and obviously before the injury, and he's very, very much so a starter. But his ability to adapt and play his role and fit in right away is unbelievable, because you see a lot of guys kind of are mad that they get traded, especially early on in their career, or They go to a situation where they're more happy to be, but they want to be more ball dominant when they get to their new team. Complete opposite with Jared McCann, doing exactly what we want as Thunder fans, to have a bona fide scorer off the bench. We obviously have Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, but to have somebody like Jared McCann who doesn't need to score, he can affect the game in all facets, whether it's defense, whether it's offense on the break, doesn't matter. His ability to affect the game in a positive manner while touching the court and not having to touch the ball is why I think he is so valuable. But continue to, you know, put him in that role off the bench, I think is perfect, especially going into the playoffs. And I think it, like I said, alleviates pressure coming to a new team, having to try and impress, new players. And, he doesn't have any of that because of the fact that he's coming off the bench. He's doing what he knows he's capable of doing. And he doesn't need to overdo it. He doesn't need to be extra. And that's what I love about the role that he's in right now is he fits right into it. Maybe eventually down the road he's going to be a starter for us, but right now as it stands, I just feel like this is a perfect fit going into the playoffs, having this type of chemistry, and we'll see where it leads us. Thunder shot 54% from the field and 37% from three, but missed a ton of free throws, 9 missed free throws. Absolutely obliterated the Wizards on the boards, 55-34. Felt good to see that. Rare occasion to see that this season. But the Thunder also forced 15 turnovers and 6 steals and 6 blocks. Wizards shot 45% from the field with 3 starters in double figures between Sar, Carrington, and Kalabali, but also was a big skirmish in the middle of the game as Jalen Williams and Champagnie got into it under the hoop after a made basket. Dort came to help with Cason Wallace, and Jalen Williams were both thrown out of the game and received tech as well as Champagnie. Either way, as a whole of nothing, but no need to be doing any of that nonsense, to be honest, when we are on the road and repeat. I get it, but sometimes it's just unnecessary when you think about it. I understand, we want to enforce our dominance on people, but I just think sometimes when we're on top, there's no need for any extracurriculars, really. And I want everybody healthy. I want everybody to be on the roster when we make to the playoffs. I don't want you know, anybody to get suspended, and not that it got to that level, but it's just, sometimes these refs can get out of hand and start throwing people out of the game unnecessary. And I would love for our team to not have a target on their back because we're trying to play a tough guy role. We already got a target on our back because we're the defending champs. There's no reason for us to go out, play tough guy role, and try and, I love Jay Will, and I love that, to be honest. But I just feel like right now, in this particular time, it's just not necessary. Maybe early on in the season I wouldn't really care as much, but right now it's like we got heavier things to worry about than people pressing me on the Wizards. Either way, the Thunder came out on top, got the W, 11th win in a row at that time. Now on to the 76ers. Now on to the Jared McCann show, as it was the return game for Jared McCann. Returns to Philly for the first time since he was traded earlier this season. And the return of J-Dub. Man, it's been a minute since Dub has been on the court as well, but McCann was on a mission and made sure the Sixers saw what they were missing, as McCann would drop 13 points off the bench and 5 of 11 from the field and 3 of 7 from 3 with a rebound and 2 assists, but mostly felt on those back-to-back threes that he hit, with Hart dishing those assists as the Thunder would go on to win the game 123-103. As the Sixers are still without Maxey and Embiid. Shea would lead all Thunder scorers with 22, 5, and 5, but 5 turnovers, unlike him, although OKC had 3 other starters in double figures with Hart, Chet, and Dub, having 10, 17, and 18. Jalen Williams, J. Will, also had 18 off the bench with McCain, but was a great to see a fully healthy team finally, guys. OKC shot 53% from the field and 44% from 3, as they also got out-rebounded by Philly and forced 16 turnovers with 6 steals. They also out-rebounded Philly and forced 16 turnovers with 6 steals and 10 blocks as well. Fantastic. Philly does have some young guns there as well. I think that they have a Rookie of the Year candidate and leading Rookie of the Year candidate, in my opinion, in VJ Edgecombe, dropping 35, 6 and 4, 14 of 28 from the field, 7 of 15 from three. Woo! Absolutely lighting it up against a very good defense in the Thunder. Against us, like I said, a very good defense. But this rookie is the real deal, guys. And the reason, truthfully, McCann was traded, but would have had a bright future with Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and McCain. What could have been? But thank you, Presti, for going ahead and getting McCain off of the Sixers. The Sixers only had one other starter in double figures outside of VJ Edgecombe. It was Marion Baycamp had 13, and Trenton Watford and Cameron Payne had double figures off the bench. But wasn't enough, as the Sixers shot 44% from the field and 37% from three and 44% free throws. Not good. Just not good, especially under 50% from the line. But they are still in the hunt for a playoff spot, not play in, as they are only one game back of the Hawks as we speak. Either way, the Thunder improved to their 12th win in a row at that time, and now put their focus onto the Celtics, where they went ahead and didn't put their focus enough. After winning 12 straight, the Thunder headed back into their last game of the road trip hot and ready for the Celtics, but the Celtics were ready for them as they topped the top team in the West 119-109. Shea led all scorers with 33, 2, and 8 on 10 of 12 shooting, over 80% shooting, and 3 of 4 from 3, but all was for naught, as Jaylen Brown also had a great game as well, going 31, 8, and 8 with Tatum having 19, 12, and 7. Four of the Celtics' five starters were in double figures, as the Celtics shot 47% from the field and 44% from three, as they out-rebounded the Thunder. And although having almost double the turnovers to the Thunder, the Thunder couldn't capitalize on the Celtics' turnovers, and they snapped the streak of the Thunder. Thunder did shoot an efficient 48% from field and 32% from three, and being out-rebounded in defense and offensive glass. Chet would have 10 and 5, while Dort would have 14 and 5, but the bench played well as well. But nobody was in double figures. Everybody had a bit over 5 to 7 to 8 points, but just not capitalizing off points off turnovers, as well as J Dub and Hart also having a lackluster game as starters. And ultimately, this is a good Celtics team with Jason Tatum back into the fold, and it shouldn't, be a demeaning loss, especially after a 12-game win streak and only 9 games left in the season, guys. The Celtics team is one of the best teams in the East, and like I said, shouldn't be a demeaning loss after a 12-game win streak. This team is good getting Tatum back, but the issue I had in this game really came from the fact that we became really Shea reliant, right? I love that, and he is our MVP and obviously our best player, and we want to have the offense run through him. But a lot of our losses this year I have witnessed have been those types of losses, right? We aren't relying on other guys to try and get a bucket. Maybe that it's an off night for other guys. I get that, right? J-Dub had an off night. Hart had an off night. But we shouldn't necessarily be relying on our guy who shot 80% from the field, granted, yes, understandably so, but was 10 of 12 from the free throw line. We should have some other guys off the bench at least in double figures, if that is the case with the starters not having their night. And that wasn't the case. We only had 2 other guys in double figures, and we're becoming reliant on Shea, and that's how we lose these games. Now, it's not too big of a worry, but these are the games that we lose, and I've noticed we become too reliant on our MVP. And that's when it kind of flabbergasts me, because we have a fully loaded roster now. There's no reason for that to be happening. And at the end of the day, before, we got fully healthy, we had everybody else getting involved with the chemistry between McCain, as I had mentioned earlier in these games, right? Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams. It doesn't matter whose night it was. We've had plenty of guys go for over 20 to 30. So it really is about being able to, say, all right, maybe it is Shea's night, but I can also get a bucket here too, because we're going to need to get a bucket. We don't need to necessarily give, Shea the ball every single time up the court, especially when we have the amount of ball handlers that we do now. So that's just the concerning part about it. But at the end of the day, if that's what we're worried about, that is that is a win because of the fact that that is not going to lose us 4 games in a series. We know we can bank on the fact that we're not going to lose 4 of those types of games in a playoff series because our MVP is better than everybody else's. We know that our player is better than everybody else's, and we know the fact that our defense is going to also show up and be able to get stopped so that we can win those ball games. So, like I said, there's bigger things to worry about, bigger fish to fry in that sense. Coming off a 12-game win streak too, nothing to worry about on top of that. But when it comes down to it, when we face the San Antonio Spurs down the road, which I, you know, which I figure that is going to happen eventually, it's inevitable. I believe that it's gonna have to come down to getting those boards, capitalizing off, points off turnovers, and not relying completely on Shea to do all the work. But at the end of the day, we're moving forward. There's only 9 games left. We have a great win streak happening right before the playoffs start, and that's exactly when we want these things to happen, guys. But now on to next week for the Thunder as they played the Celtics tonight, but we'll have a 5-game homestand, and now after a 5-game road trip and face off against the Bulls, Knicks, Pistons, Lakers, and Jazz before heading on their last road trip of the season. I'm really liking the trajectory of this team and the players and the rotation that has been on the floor. Obviously, we've had some injuries, so we've been having more rotational pieces go and start as well. But as I had mentioned before, McCain coming off the bench, McCain rather coming off the bench, and having him drop as many as you want, 15 to 20 off the bench, with Dub now in the lineup as a starter. Maybe implementing a couple of different starting lineups in the playoffs, not having Dort. Maybe having Dort come off the bench. I don't know, but I really do like what is happening on the floor and the rotation pieces and the ability for everybody to adapt around Shea. Now, Celtics, that game wasn't necessarily our best version of adaptation and having team chemistry, but at the end of the day, I don't think that that's going to happen every single night. So I do believe that, Dags will make sure that everybody is tuned in and liking the rotations, but I really do like what's happening right now in the trajectory of this team. I think the basketball that we have played in the last 12 games before, obviously, this loss will get us in a deep playoff run the way things shake out. But the playoffs are always a different monster, especially with a target on our backs from being defending champs. I think all these games are winnable in this homestand, but the Lakers will be a good test, especially since they are also one of the hottest teams in the NBA and contending for the 3 seed in the West. Playing a game like that in the playoffs before playoffs and will be a pivotal game for both teams. This is essential, having a playoff game atmosphere before the playoffs, but in the end, to have the ability to put our heads down and continue to take one game or each game one game at a time. And I think that this team will be in great shape, especially since the game versus the Celtics was the first game all season our whole roster was healthy. Now on to the Bulls on Friday, who are also a team that's in the mix for the Eastern Conference playoffs. So all great and winnable games for us and playoff atmosphere games. We just need to stay healthy and continue to see through what we need to do in order to win these last games. So now let's get into the standings before we hop off here. But we're only sitting 2 games ahead of the San Antonio Spurs right now, as the San Antonio Spurs and us are the only teams in the Western Conference to have clinched right now. But 1 and 2, we're sitting 2 games ahead of the San Antonio Spurs, who are in the 2 spot at 55 and 18, at 47 and 26, 8 games back of the Spurs and 10 games back of the Thunder. The Lakers are sitting in the 3 spot, but they're 2 games ahead of the Denver Nuggets in the 4 spot at 45 and 28. The Nuggets are 2 games back of the Lakers, but the Nuggets are a half game ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who just won last night against the Houston Rockets, who the Houston Rockets are right behind the Minnesota Timberwolves at the 6th spot at 43 and 28. Right behind them are the Phoenix Suns, but they are 4 games back of the Houston Rockets, so it doesn't really seem like The Suns are going to leapfrog the Houston Rockets into the 6th spot. Looks like the play-in is set and the playoffs are set right now in the Western Conference, but I've seen crazier things happen. But the Clippers are sitting at the 8th spot at 36-36. The Portland Trailblazers, an up and down year, but managing to find a way, 36-37 at the 9th spot. And the Warriors right now at 34-38, as this is your Western Conference play-in and play-off. And why not? Let's just get into the Eastern Conference playoffs because we're already here, and I want to cover the entire NBA because why not? The Pistons are sitting 4 games ahead of the Boston Celtics right now. Right behind them, a half game back of the Celtics, or the Knicks in the 3 spot at 4.5 games back of the Pistons. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 3 games back of the Knicks in the 4 spot, as the Raptors are 4 games back of the Cavaliers in the 5 spot, and tied with the Atlanta Hawks for the 5 and 6 spot. They are a game ahead in regards of losses, so that, obviously is going to put them at the 5 spot and the Atlanta Hawks at 6, but we'll see how that shakes out. Moving on to the 7th spot, right behind the Hawks, only a game back, is the 76ers, and right behind the Miami Heat, only a game back of the 76ers. And Charlotte Hornets having a great surge at the end of the year, 38-34, 14 games back of obviously the Pistons, but only a game and a half back of the Miami Heat. And the Orlando Magic at the 14 games back, but at the 10th spot, sitting at 8.5 games ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls, 9.5 games. So unless the Orlando Magic completely fail and just absolutely lose every single game, it doesn't seem like the Bulls are going to be in contention or the Milwaukee Bucks. So this seems to be your play-in and play-off right now, and obviously could shake up a little bit differently between the 6, 7, and 8 spots, even 9 and 10 spots. Who knows? I've seen crazier, like I said, things happen. But those are your standings right now in the NBA. We're only 2 games ahead of the San Antonio Spurs, so we really have to hone in. It is a tough, end to the schedule for the Thunder compared to the San Antonio Spurs, but I really do think that this is perfect for the nature of basketball that we're about to play in a couple weeks. I think that we don't want to play easy games. We don't want to just roll into the playoffs and grab the 1 seed and have it handed to us. So we need to go ahead and really contend and really grab that 1 seed for the 3rd year in a row. The Spurs have a little bit of easy schedule. We'll see what happens, but at the end of the day, I believe in my Thunder, and it's always Thunder up, baby. But that is a wrap of this episode of Thunder Banter. Let's go 5-0 in this homestand because it's needed. But we will be back here all locked in on Thunder Banter. Thanks for tuning in. We out.